This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Ryan Neely, CEO of Fulcrum Metals, following news from the uranium projects in Saskatchewan as the geological consultant has completed the end-of-year report. So thank you very much for joining us today, Ryan. How are you?
I'm very good, Mark. It's a pleasure to be back with you in the new year.
Indeed. Well, before we talk about some of the news, I just want to touch a little bit on the uranium price. Going back to November, it was all thing tomorrow. That was definitely a hot commodity in more ways than one, let's say. But it's performed even well since in the last couple of months, hasn't it? What's your take on where the uranium price is?
Yeah, uranium is really heating up. Over the course of the last few months, what's really been underlined is this structural deficit in the supply of uranium.
Mm-hmm.
In some of the major companies like Cameco announcing that they will not meet their production guidelines. Just over the weekend, Kazatomprom, I think I might have got that right. One of the world's largest uranium producers out of Kazakhstan have also announced that they will not meet their production guidelines. So what we're seeing is, structural problems in the uranium market, and what we're seeing is a spot price of over $100 a pound, where 12 months ago we was looking at mid 30s. So I think investors are cottoning on to this. Overnight in Australia, we've seen the market reaction to this. There's some huge market gains down there across the board. I'm not sure if there's a uranium explorer down overnight. So what it tells us, our original thesis on going into uranium a few years back, we are now at the forefront of that. And it's a hugely exciting industry.
So you mentioned there Kazatomprom and Cameco basically coming out and saying we cannot fulfill our obligations. It's not even forward contract, not contracts that are yet to be signed, but they can't even fulfill the current contracts. I mean, we're looking here potentially at do you think, a structural supply deficit for how many years?
Well, this is the question, which is almost the elephant in the room. Bears on uranium have always said, look, you've got 1 billion pounds of uranium to flood into the market. What we've seen is that, the cupboard's empty, the cupboard's bare. Now, as you say, they have contracts to fulfill. So in a kind of an absurd way, what we're seeing is the biggest producers of uranium in the market, they might just have to buy on the market themselves. Now, that makes for some very interesting market conditions around uranium. We know uranium is, once it gets going, there's no bull market like a uranium market. You look back at 2008, you're seeing some huge gains. I think uranium spiked from around $14 all the way up to $140 during that bull cycle. So far, we've gone from around 22 to just over 100. So who knows where this settles? But it's actually a seller's market for uranium now. It really is.
Okay, and this update that the company has released today, then, what's this all about? It's you say it's the report from your geological consultants there, covering both Charlotte, Neely Lake, and Fontaine Lake. So just give us a sense of what it's all about and what it means.
Yeah, so this builds on the update that we put out. I think it was sometime around October last year, which was the preliminary results. We identified new uranium trends and the structures, which was extremely exciting as our first pass of exploration. What we've done now is we've got the rock analytics back. We've been able to have a look at the geological modelling and actually how these projects fit together. Now, this update is just based on the Charlotte, Neely, and Fontaine Lake. We have expanded substantially our portfolio actually since over the last few months, so that we've got 4 projects Now, what we've seen some high-grade uranium at both Charlotte and Fontaine. When I say high-grade, I'm talking over 0.1%. Worldwide, you look at Namibia, you're talking high-grade is 0.05%. So we've got samples here of 5,000, 7,000 ppm, which is 0.5%, 0.7%. We've got historical grades of just over 6% uranium. So what we know is these are really highly prospective projects. And we've also seen M&A just recently over the last month. The Fortune Bay deal for Mermac and Strike Point. Now, these projects are about 19,000 hectares. They're just south along this Black Bay Fault, where our Charlotte Neely project sits. Our Charlotte Neely project is just over 16,000 hectares, so not much smaller. And that Fortune Bay deal was for over 3 million Canadian in cash and shares and the 6 million Canadian work expenditures. And I think that really highlights the scale of the opportunity for us based on that one M&A deal.
Yeah, indeed. So what does this sort of, if you like, first pass or initial look here at these projects tell you, and what confidence does it give you in terms of the prospectivity? Of course, Charlotte Neely Lake, you mentioned there its potential for non-conformity, which is the real high grade. It's the one you want to be in, really. The Fontaine Lake is lower grade, but higher tonnage, so less grade, but more of it. So I mean, what does it tell you about these two projects? I mean, what are you going to be doing going forward based off of this initial report?
Well, I'll tell you something. Across these two projects, I think we've covered every type of uranium deposit that you can find. High-grade vein systems, basement hosted potential, lower grade, higher tonnage potential. So actually we cover quite a wide range of different uranium types here, which is why it makes it so exciting. Now, what we previously announced is that, once we announced our significant expansion of the properties towards the end of last year, we're undertaking a review of these assets, and we're actively talking to interested parties. And there's a lot, as you can imagine, looking at the uranium market itself. And make no mistake, these are highly prospective. These are sought after projects.
Well, that's a very interesting point. I mean, because of course, Fulcrum Metals haven't just got uranium, you have a lot of other projects as well in the portfolio. But given the excitement around uranium and the price at the moment, it's probably worth your while focusing quite heavily on that side of it while it's hot. I mean, is that fair to say? Will you be focusing efforts? Are you potentially looking to attract other parties, JVs, sales, or further work yourself?
100%. We are focusing right now on advancing talks with these interested parties.
Okay.
Which we have announced if you look back in previous RNSs on Saskatchewan. So we are actively discussing this. Now, the reason why we're doing this is not just to, bring in JV partners, but the fact is these projects warrant significant investment. So it's up to us as a company to make sure that we lock in that value for shareholders and we put it into a position where it can be adequately funded and go out and find the next uranium discovery.
Okay. And that may involve, indeed, as you say, talking to these interested parties, potentially for a joint venture, or would you look to put more money into the project yourself?
I think at this point, we've proven how highly prospective, in particular, Charlotte Neely and Fontaine Lake are. I think the most optimum outcome for Fulcrum shareholders right now is fully focusing on the spin out of these properties, or some significant earnings from partners.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ryan Mee, for giving us that update there, and thank you for your time today. I'm sure we'll be talking again as perhaps these talks progress, or of course on the other aspects of the business. But for now, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.